Welcome to Vampires and Mermaids. I'm Erin.
I'm Risha.
And we are struggling today. We are both some big sleepy ladies.
Yes.
But that's not going to stop us.
No, we're going to go.
We sound so enthused. We've got our coffee.
We do. That's nice.
We both have different types of coffee. I realize neither of us drink regular coffee.
No.
Because I just have my decaf.
Right.
My trashy instant decaf. Some
Works
creamer.
for ya.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. Your creamer smells really nice.
It's caramel.
I was
It's in the
sniffing
fridge.
I know.
And you
I was
have...
thinking about it.
Go for
I
it.
have mushroom coffee. Somebody I know that likes coffee a lot says that it's smoother than normal black coffee.
Oh,
So
fancy.
get your mushroom coffee, guys.
Well, it's pretty good for you too, isn't it?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not the kind of addicting that normal coffee is.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I like it.
Hence why I have to be on decaf or else I wee.
Woohoo!
So maybe I need that today. We'll see.
Jitter though.
Yes, yeah, the shakes are not it.
Fun.
No.
Not fun. I mean, I'll talk about oatmeal in this one. Did I talk about cereal last time?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
talked about Count Chocula.
Yeah, I'm going to talk
Well,
about...
that was 2 times ago,
Oh,
I
it was
think.
2 times ago.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to talk about oatmeal in this one,
Oh.
but it's not as serendipitous and whimsical.
Oh, well.
This is The Blood Drawing Ghost. It's a tale from Ireland. It's called a vampire tale, but of course we'll see if we think it is a vampire. It is written down and published. It was in 1882 by Jeremiah Curtin in Ireland. The story of a young woman called Kate. She was one of 3 women that this County Cork is the place. I'm doing great here reading.
You're good. We're in County Cork and
We're
there's
in
a gal
County
named
Cork.
Kate.
Yes, she was one of 3 who somebody was thinking of marrying. So she was one of 3 women that this guy was like, maybe she will be my wife.
'Kay.
And I will decide myself without actually talking to these women.
It's giving like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
A little bit. And especially because he wanted to test the women.
That's healthy.
So he gives them a challenge to find a cane that he placed in the tomb of a recently deceased person.
That's pretty twisted.
It's so lovely.
That's not even useful.
Right?
Like, at least
like
have it be a saddle a horse or
Or a riddle?
cook a chicken or, I mean, well, 1800s, at least do something relatively practical.
Funny. But the first 2 gals were like, no, I don't want to do that.
But
And
not
then-
our girl Kate.
No, Kate, she was like, all right, let's go. She arrives at the tomb and encounters a dead man who forces her to take him into town.
Oh, no. That's a twist.
And once he was there, he drinks the blood of 3 young men who then die. And he mixes their blood with some oatmeal and tells Kate that this blood cake could bring the men back to life. And so she takes the oatmeal, hides some of it, and before returning to his tomb, the vampire also tells Kate about some gold buried in a nearby field.
I mean, it sounds like Kate's winning.
Yeah.
Other than watching people get murdered. Kate's not
Right.
winning. Never mind.
And I think about leprechauns because he's like, suddenly, here's gold over there.
Oh.
And it is Ireland, so maybe there's a little crossover there. The next day, the bodies of the 3 men are found, and Kate strikes a deal with their parents. She'll bring the men back to life if she can marry the oldest one in the land where the gold is buried, and then that land is then deeded to her.
Why oldest? Like
Because
oldest
he's the-
son?
No, he's the one who lives on that land.
Oh.
Yeah, but he's the oldest guy.
Okay, sorry. My brain went to like an old guy fetish and I got
Oh,
confused.
no.
But it's a property gain situation.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah. She's
sorry.
like, there's gold over there, so I
was
want to
like,
marry this guy.
Kate, sweetie, no. Okay, that good. Yes, get
right,
it, Kate.
right.
Climb that social ladder, I guess.
In the 1800s, yes. She then feeds each of them that blood oatmeal, and they are all brought back to life.
So she feeds the dead people the oatmeal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mixed with their blood.
Interesting.
She marries the oldest man, gets the gold, and lives a long, happy life.
Really? That's just that. What happened to the dead guy?
He's a vampire in the...
Well, where'd he go?
Just back to his tomb.
So the village people never, like, panicked about that? Like, hey, yo, he just showed up, killed a bunch of dudes, made some oatmeal out of his blood, Kate got wealthy, we're just going to let it go?
I'm guessing they didn't know.
So how... okay, how did Kate not get burned as a witch? Here's some oatmeal and blood. That was also on the... Oh, what episode was that? We talked about how many people got freaking burned at the stake. Clara.
That was in Germany, yeah.
They're not that far away. So we're cool with that? Is Ireland just
Ireland
that much?
must be cool with it. They do, I feel like, tend to be a little bit more superstitious in like fairies and like lore of magic.
Huh. I mean, this is also a story too.
Yes.
Clara being murdered was actually
real life.
So I guess that's fair, but
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is a big 180 though.
Right? I was like, oh, wait, this person that's the main character like lives and isn't the direct murderer?
And interesting, yeah, she wasn't the direct murderer. She wasn't murdered.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she definitely used the situation to her advantage, which
a
little cold-hearted for sure, but
Right.
also, listen, being a woman in the 1800s is hard. Being alive in the 1800s is hard, so I guess do what you gotta do.
Right. And because that one was really short, I wanted to add like a little tidbit of something, of some semantics, because we've talked about like what makes a vampire and
Yes.
why certain ways are considered vampire, and if it's the disease, is it
Reproduction.
biological,
Yep.
right? You know, and the disease one has to do with an ichor, ICHOR. That's at least one theory that has been thrown out, and it's where a vampire's bite deposits a kind of enzyme from the saliva into the bloodstream. When the vampire has had enough to drink to kill the victim, the enzyme triggers a metabolic change in the victim's body. And then there's this production of a dark green liquid called ichor within the bloodstream.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's one of the theories as to the whole disease spread version of it. A little bit of the semantics behind it.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Would you like me to go into my book corner?
Go for it.
So last time I did my book corner, I was planning on doing this one with Peter Pan, and Peter Pan went too long, so we saved it. So now I'm going to be covering The Siren by Kiera Cass. I honestly haven't reviewed my notes since I wrote them down a week ago, so who knows how this is going to go.
Hey, we're both there.
Perfect. So The Siren was originally published in 2009. I thought it was a newer book, but it's not. I think it just got kind of popular on TikTok like a couple of years ago, and I know they redid the cover, so I don't know if that has something to do with it. After she wrote this book, though, she wrote the Crown series, which is actually what I know Kiera Cass from. Some people find the series kind of problematic, and which I'm not saying it's not. It's definitely like a very whitewashed book. There's not much diversity included in it at all. I really enjoyed it at the time, though, as being a like naive, early college Minnesota grown gal. I think I still enjoyed it. I think it could definitely be more diverse. And she also brought in, I read somewhere that it's kind of problematic that she kind of mimicked a caste system, and some people had issues with that too. I don't know enough about that to really speak on it, but I really enjoyed the series The Crown, and I actually recently found out from researching this that there was a fourth book wrote. I thought it was just a trilogy, and there's one called The Heir, H-E-I-R. So I'm totally going to go creep on that because it's like the next generation, and I didn't know that was out. So I'm going to have a little throwback. But we're not talking about The Crown. We're talking about The Siren, which was one of her earlier stories. The Siren, obviously, That's the reason I picked this book for the podcast.
What? Why?
I know, right? That doesn't tie in at all. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I guess that's impressive. Go listen to our Harry Potter episode. Or manatees. Sirens tend to tie in with mermaids. Yes. So in the Siren, and I am going to be covering a lot about the book, obviously, and there are going to be spoilers. I'm going to tell you the whole book. If you don't want to hear that, that's totally fine. Just go ahead and skip this part or fast forward to the end or whatever.
I want to hear it.
Excellent. Good, because you're going to have to, or else it's just going to be me sitting quietly. That being said, people are going to think I just hate books. I also gave this one a 2-star out of 5. I really enjoyed the first half of this book, and I really hated the second half of the book. So I don't necessarily recommend, like, good reader or good listener, take your time out of your day to go read this book. If it sounds interesting, go for it. But I'm going to spoil it for you. So we first meet the main character, and I listened to this book on audio. So I got very confused because she was called Colin in the audiobook, which is her name, but I was picturing Collin. But when I started going back and just looking at Spark Notes to make sure I didn't miss anything, it's actually Kahlen. So it's like Colin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The audiobook called her Colin.
Sure.
Colin is a 19-year-old who we meet initially. She's on a boat during the Depression era, kind of the early 30s, with her family. And they're sailing across the sea, don't really know where, but her family is essentially one of the ones that wasn't very affected by the Great Depression. They actually continued to grow wealthier. Don't know how, but she was very well off. Something mysterious happens. They start hearing these voices out in the ocean. The ship veers off course and the boat sinks. But not before Colin sees these like beautiful women and standing out in the water who are transfixing all of her, her father, her mother, her siblings. So as Colin is drowning, she starts begging for her life, basically. I want to live, I want to live. And the ocean answers back. So the ocean is actually a whole separate character through this entire book. Like it's basically its own person. And I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really cool. So the ocean basically greets her and says she will save Colin, but she has to essentially enter into a contract with the ocean that Colin will serve the ocean for the total of 100 years with her sisters, who we'll get into them in a little bit. And if at the end of that 100 years, Colin has served the ocean, not given away the ocean secrets, a couple other little tangents, then Colin will be released from her servitude and get to go on living a normal life. But she won't remember her previous life during 1930s, 20s, etc., or her 100 years with the ocean. She'll basically be a completely blank slate and will be allowed to go live her life. Colin agrees to enter into this, and then she meets her sisters, who are, we learn, sirens who have already entered into this agreement. So by entering into this contract with the ocean, you become a siren. So
her sisters were already her sisters in real life?
No.
Or now they've become her sisters?
Yes.
Because, okay.
Sisters through the ocean. Yeah, good clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so the sirens who had sang the song that transfixed everyone on this boat are essentially now her sisters through the ocean.
Wait. They're the ones who, like, sunk the ship, and now she's got to be, like, buddy-buddy with them?
Now she has to do that, too. So the premise is that the ocean needs to feed on human life to survive.
What?
Yep.
What?
And sometimes the ocean does not need to interfere at all. People drown, terrible natural disasters happen, ships just sink. They do that on their own sometime, unfortunately, especially, earlier years. And keep in mind, this starts in the 1930s. But as, ships have gotten better and people have gotten a little bit better at understanding the ocean, that's happened less and less. So the ocean now has sirens who she will occasionally, when she needs to feed, send out her. They're kind of like her children, essentially. They call her the mother sometimes. She will send out her children, these girls, who will go sing and lure boats and cause them to sink so the ocean can feed on the people. A little dark. But I also loved this setup. It was really cool, and I thought it was a really original idea.
It's intriguing, for
right?
Sure.
So with this, Colin signs on to be a siren, and she develops a couple of different traits. So it's not just like you get to be a normal human during these 100 years. You are fully a siren. You still look like a human and everything. Your beauty is enhanced, though, and you don't age anymore. So she stays 19 through the entirety of this book. Now, sirens sing. That's what they're known for. That's how they lure the ships. But if they talk, just even any type of talking, people will become lured to them immediately and kind of just try to drown themselves, which is problematic. So none of these girls can talk to anybody but each other. The sisters can only talk amongst themselves, and they actually use sign language to communicate out in public, which I really enjoyed.
That's smart on the ocean's part, too.
Right?
Yeah.
Because then they can't reveal secrets. Yep, and that's the other thing. They can't, tell people who they are.
Yeah.
They must, since they serve the ocean, they must come when the ocean calls to. So when she says, girls, let's go get in the water, they have to do it immediately. When she says sing, they have to sing immediately.
So they're just walking out inland, though, sometimes, too?
Yep, they live on land.
Oh.
Yep, so they live among humans.
Wow.
But when the ocean calls, they have to go into the ocean.
Do they get tails?
They do not get tails. They do, right? They do get these beautiful, I think they call them like seawater dresses. So when they enter into the ocean and sing for her, they basically get these gorgeous, later described as prom dresses, but they're these beautiful kind of ethereal, floaty, sparkly dresses, and they're different every time. And when they exit the water, they just like slowly, I don't want to say decay, disintegrate.
Sure.
They disintegrate over time. So that is touched on briefly. At this part in the book, I'm like, this is going to be a 4-star read. I'm enjoying the world building and the mythology. I really enjoyed her sisters too, because then we flash forward to about 2015, I think. Well, no, it must have been like 2009 because that's when the book came out. It flashes forward to the early aughts, let's say. And by this point, some of the sisters we had originally met, the other sirens, I think 1 or 2 of them have already spent their 100 years. So they've left. And we've also gained a new sister who's from the 70s. And she is totally the like child of free love. And I'm just here for her. I really enjoyed her character. She did a really phenomenal job, the author, in selecting different people from all around the world for this, by the way. We had different backgrounds, different cultures, different ways of life, but she also had, the 1930s gal is all scandalized by the outfits of today. And the 1970s gals, like, I fucking love clubs. I want to go, like, hook up and do drugs. And, like, it's kind of stereotypical, but it was cute. I enjoyed it.
Wait, okay. Did they ever address what would happen if, like, can one of them get pregnant by a human?
No.
Okay.
Nope. So they can't age. That's a good point, actually. They can't age. They can't get sick. They can't die. They're essentially immortal for the most part. And actually, the ocean has a rule that she's not allowed to take mothers or married women into this contract.
Weird.
It has to be single women. And her reasoning is because it would be too painful for married women or mothers to call people to their death, essentially.
Yeah, but those single gals, they don't care.
Right. I know, kind of problematic. There is one part that I want to talk about. I'm not entirely sure if it happens before or after this next bullet point. I think it kind of happens simultaneously, which is when they gain another sister. And this was another part that I really enjoyed. And she was, I believe, Middle Eastern. I don't think they exactly said where she was from. I'm sorry if they did. But she was drowning, and the ocean called her daughters, so Colin and her other sisters, and said, you're going to have a new sister, but she needs your help. You need to go to her right away. And it was very different than everything else that, when Colin joined and she was just drowning on a ship and, go help her, whatever. This was much more urgent. So they go find this gal, and I can't remember her name, but they find her drowning, and they realize like her hands are bound and she's been beaten.
Oh, gosh.
And it basically was a abuse situation. So trigger warning, where she was from a country where daughters were not valued and she was considered trash, and her father was mad at her and killed her. But the ocean rescued her and gave her the second chance, which I thought was really fun. Not fun. It was really interesting that she brought two sides into who she can save from drowning. It wasn't just shipwrecks that she caused, but it could also just be other scenarios. So we kind of see the ocean being merciful too.
Sure. A little depth, a little...
Yeah. Sympathy.
Like more than two-dimensional.
Yes. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. And I also thought the diversity was interesting, how they added, the ocean obviously spans across the entire earth. And I appreciated they didn't just show United States girls, I guess. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, this is the last good thing I have to say about the book. Because now, Colin, they're living in, I think, Florida. I don't know. They're living in some big city. It's been a hot minute since I read the book. And again, I honestly was just so mad I didn't care at this point. She's at the library, and of course she's this beautiful 19-year-old, and she's trying to blend into this college town even though she's not going to school. So she just goes and hangs out at the library, and she's not like other girls. And she meets this boy named Akinley.
Mm-hmm.
And Akinley sees her at the library and starts chatting her up, but she can't talk. But he doesn't care. He's so patient, and he's having her like write down her name, and she's just, oh, he's not like other boys, and it's just incredibly cheesy. Which I get. This is probably wrote for a younger audience, and I'm still, maybe it'll be fine. This could be okay. And then they end up meeting again later, like in the college lawn. He's like, oh, what's your major? And she's like trying to cover up that she's not actually at this school. And again, they're not talking. She's having to write this down or try to like sign to him. And he is being so incredibly patient and kind, but it's also like, dude, if she wasn't into you, this would kind of come across as creepy,
Mm-hmm.
And what really got me, and I know this was supposed to be cute, and there are probably people listening who are like, Erin, you cynic. Every now and then Colin will talk about how, like, besides, men these days just aren't how they used to be in the 30s or the 20s. And she just wants a boy. She doesn't want to do this bump and grind that they do at the club.
My God.
She just wants a boy to jitterbug with her. Well, wouldn't you believe it? Akinley's mom is a dance teacher, and he knows how to jitterbug. So on their second time meeting, he's like, I just want a girl who will jitterbug with me. And she's like, oh my God. And of course she's not talking. She's just like flailing her hands around, and they start jitterbugging in the middle of this like campus class or campus yard. And it was just cringy to me.
Cringe was the word I was just thinking.
Yeah, it was just really cringy. And the concept of just like insta love and instant, the instant attraction, absolutely, but instant love, like that's lust.
Yeah.
And that's not setting up anything for a real relationship.
Or it's not even necessarily lust sometimes. It's just infatuation. It's
Yes.
just an interest.
Yes. And they just were selling it as something more. But they do put in, like, they end up texting because Colin does have a cell phone, which she does say is ironic. Who could she talk to? Because she can't speak.
Mm-hmm.
But, she can use it for texting and everything. And I will say, too, the ocean can communicate with them basically through their minds. So they can always hear the ocean if she wants to talk to the girls. That comes in a little later. So Colin ends up baking a cake with Akinley in his like dorm kitchen, and again, it's all very cheesy, but it's kind of cute. Like I guess I'm kind of here for it. Again, I'm kind of in the this is cringy, but whatever. Mm-hmm. Maybe it'll redeem itself because I really liked the first part. About this time, the ocean calls her daughters, the Sirens, and I need to feed. You're gonna go drown this cruise ship. And it ends up being really freaking sad, and Colin gets out there. And by the way, if they don't obey the ocean can just kill them at any point. So they go...
Great.
Right. Totally healthy relationship. So they go out there, and they start singing their song, and Colin's, like, struggling. And she's always had this, like, immense feeling of guilt compared to the other girls about what she's doing, which, again, just very, like, I'm not like other girls. Even the other girls who are also drowning and saved by the ocean. And, yeah, it was just a lot of I'm special. So she's having a hard time singing, and her sisters are kind of like, dude, like, don't get us in trouble. Like, come on, we got to get our job done. And the cruise ship starts sinking, and they realize it was a wedding. And so it's a bride and a groom are drowning, and all their family is drowning, which is tragic.
Yeah.
And Colin basically loses it because all she's ever wanted to be is a bride and a mother. That's all she's ever wanted, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But she sees this and it really hits her, I guess, and she just stops singing and starts begging with the ocean to please save the bride, at least. Just save the bride. And the ocean's like, Colin, I can't do that. I don't take married women. This isn't going to work. Plus, we don't really have a spot open, like, which is awful. Like, just knock it the fuck off. And in Colin not singing, the people start to kind of come out of their trance. So when they're in a trance, it's actually a pretty peaceful death. Not saying it's okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but Colin stops singing, and then these people start panicking, and then the other girls stop singing because they're trying to get Colin to get her shit together. And so it's just making these deaths worse for these people.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it just felt kind of selfish, but also traumatic. Like, not trying to belittle the trauma, but it's like, you're just stretching out these people's deaths.
Making it painful.
Yes. And so they finish that. They drown everyone successfully, I guess, and they're allowed to leave. And Colin basically just takes the fuck off. Like, instead of swimming with her sisters, who she does live with, Instead of staying with them, she just starts swimming and running away from the whole scenario. And she happens to wash up on a shore in Maine. Now, that's not where we were previously.
No, we were in like Florida. You said.
Yeah, I think it was Florida or California. It was another coast town.
Sure.
It was a very populated area. She washes up on a shore on Maine. Guess who finds her? A Kinley. He just so happens to be home from school and originally from Maine.
It's meant to be, Erin.
Oh my God. Now, keep in mind, he is on hundreds of miles away from where they met. Oh, by the way, she fully ghosted him after their little cake decorating thing. She's like, this is too... Sorry, I should have put that in there. She fully ghosted him. She was like, whoa, this is getting too serious. I can't do this. But then she can't stop thinking about him. And there's just something different about him, but she can't let herself talk to him. And it's just very cringy. But then she just happens to wash up on his home beach. And he happens to find her. Now he, again, hundreds of miles away, walking along the beach, apparently is a fisherman. Again, ironic, because somehow this also never came up in our original conversation with him, finds Colin, a girl that he met, I think 3 times total, in what is essentially a prom dress, half drowned, and don't worry, she still can't talk.
Wait, half drowned?
I mean, she like washes up on shore. She's not actually drowned. Sorry.
So you're going like, can that
looks,
happen?
She looks like a drowned rat, basically.
Oh, in a prom dress.
In a prom dress. And so he starts being like, oh my God, Colin, what the fuck? And of course she can't tell him. And she's being real cagey writing her answers down because what the fuck is she gonna say? And he just is like, all right, well, you want to come home with me, I guess? Like, how did you even get here? And she's not telling him anything, not even like making up a good story. She's just like, yeah, I don't know. So he then brings her home to his aunt and uncle's house. Or sorry, it's not an aunt and uncle, my bad. It's his, what is it, brother and sister-in-law, I think? Yes, it's his brother and sister-in-law. He brings her home to the brother and sister-in-law's house. And it just so happens that in the last like couple of months that they haven't talked, that Colin ghosted him, and he just seems fine with it and fine with this whole scenario. His parents have also tragically died. So now they're bonding over their shared trauma. And the whole time the ocean is like screaming at Colin, like, where are you? You need to come back. We're worried about you. Your sisters are worried about you. Like, where the hell did you go? And she's like, no, I'm not talking to you. I'm mad at you. The ocean
could just be like, fine, you're dead.
Right. Yup. But Colin's deciding, no, I want to spend a day being normal with this boy who I've talked to 3 times and text, I guess, for like a couple months and then ghosted. Not even a couple months. It was like the total like 2 weeks. Like it was a very short period of time. And then she ghosted him for a longer time than they even talked. And now she decides like, no, I'm just going to ignore the ocean. I don't want to talk to you right now. And keep in mind, like, yeah, she's in a 19-year-old's body, but she's like 80 at this point.
Right. I was like, she's gone through like 70 years of her contract around.
Yep.
Like, you're almost done, girl.
Yep. And she is just, nope, I am not dealing with you. Like, I just want to have time with this boy. So they, again, the convenient dead parents and the insta love is just there because then he takes her on like a cute little date. Like they go to a bookstore and Colin isn't like other girls because she loves books.
She's not like any other girl.
No, she's so original and so like 1920s, 30s coded and just, and she likes baking and she's just so cool and chill and she's just, and he's not like other boys because he listens and he cares.
And he can do the jitterbug.
And it's just, they don't talk about anything deeper. Like there's no conversation about like, where are your politics aligning? Where do you want to live one day? Like, even if this future is possible, right? They've covered none of the bases. Do you want kids? Do you want to get married? None of this has come up, but she's decided he is it for her. And he's decided she's it for him to the point he brings, after her being there for like a couple of, like, I think like 2-3 days, because she extends her little, I'm only staying for 24 hours and mad at the ocean. She's like, well, fuck you. I'm going to stay for a little bit longer. Kinley takes Colin to his dead parents' house and literally is like, this could be ours. Like, it's still mine. I work hard. Be with me forever. I love you. Basically, like, will you marry me? Yep. And she says yes.
No. Oh, no.
Which, first off, bitch, are we just, like, it feels like you don't care about him because you also know the ocean can not only kill you at any point, but probably him too. Like, he's a fisherman. She can just start singing and drown the fuck out of him. Well, she says yes, he hears her voice, and he just starts wandering into the water and trying to drown himself because he's compelled. She freaks the fuck out, tries to drag him out of the water. The ocean's like, oh, really?
Huh.
Well, would you looky there?
You done effed up.
Yes, and I'll throw a little tangent. In the book, there is a slight story about how during all this, when she's talking to the boy, and I think it's while she ghosted him, but before she found a Kinley, so kind of in that middle ground, one of her sister's 100-year contracts is up. And so we see a little glimpse into what happens then. And we find out that this sister, even though the ocean can just read minds, this sister was actually a mother when she died. And she has been watching her daughter grow up and have babies and fall in love and die. And then those babies grow up and have babies and then die. And somehow keeping it from all of her sisters and the ocean, which seems problematic. But the important part of this is at the end of 100 years, she goes to Colin and she tells Colin this. She confesses everything. She knows Colin's falling apart because she's so in love with this boy. And apparently that's equivalent to watching your daughter grow up and die. So she's, which, no.
Wait, can the ocean read minds or can it just communicate?
No, it's supposed to also be able to like read their minds. But I guess you can like hide some of your thoughts. And she just somehow knew how to do this.
Huh.
Yeah. So the sister tells Colin, like, you know, I've kept the secret from the ocean. You can keep your secret from the ocean. It's like, this is so problematic. But at the end of the sister's 100 years, she tells Colin everything. And she says, but my great-granddaughter or my granddaughter or whatever is named after me. And she teaches at this boarding school for women or girls. I want you to basically put a bunch of cash in my pocket and drop my ass off at that school with a note saying, like, I'm sorry we can't take care of our sister because I'm not going to remember jack shit when I wake up. And just let me, that be the start of my life. Because apparently that's how they do it. They just leave a little note and a bunch of cash and drop them somewhere and hope for the best because they don't remember anything.
Nope, I answered my question. I had a question.
You can share it.
I was like, wait, how do they get the money? Does the ocean just produce it? But no, they live on land. So
They do live on land. And
but how do they get money?
I don't know, and they don't talk about that because they just kind of magically are able to rent like pretty decent houses in really expensive areas, and no one has jobs. Like they talk about how one sister sells paintings, but you can't tell me she's providing for 4 people, and they don't like have to eat. They don't have to sleep, so they can't get sick. They can't die, right? But like, girl, you all have cell phones. You're all like have hobbies and nice houses and electricity. And
do they like sell pearls or something?
They don't ever touch on that. They just somehow magically always have money.
Weird.
Right? And also annoying. Excuse me. So that happened. Then she goes to Kinley. Now we're back to Kinley proposing, her saying, yes, I will marry you. Oh, fuck. He goes into the ocean. And the ocean's like, bitch, you thought you could hide your thoughts from me about him, but here he is. I'm gonna drown him. This is better for you. Of course, Colin's like, no, I'll do whatever I have to save him, which, like, yeah, you should. You fucked up his life. Also, he's an idiot. So she ends up making a deal with the ocean that I will, you know, continue to serve you. I think it's for a longer period of time. I think like her 100 years starts over, even though she's like 20 years from the end, as long as she just lets Colin live or Kinley live, like, please just save him. And so the ocean does. And it's like, but you need to fucking listen and start behaving. So Colin goes back to her sisters, but she starts getting sick.
She can't get sick.
Correct. But she starts getting a fever and weak, and she's hungry and she's sleepy.
Is it the power of her love?
I wish people could see my face. It's just, it's not.
Okay.
So no one knows why she's sick. What possibly could have happened that just Colin is sick? This is so strange. And so the sisters are all doing a ton of research, which is kind of fun because they all care a lot, and they're digging through like every old art piece of sirens and every old story of sirens, trying to find some case where the siren gets ill. And eventually they stumble across something along the lines of someone heard her voice and didn't drown.
Aha.
And they start looking into where Kinley is, and they find out he is also deathly ill and in the hospital, like even worse off than Colin. Like he's like on death's door. Okay, this boy is dying, and the doctors have no idea why. And his brother, who also just lost his parents, and sister-in-law are like losing their fucking shit, and they're having to put a ramp on the side of the house so they can get his wheelchair in and out, and they're basically putting him on a hospice.
Oh, goodness.
And so they realize that because he heard her voice, now they're both super sick because it's basically like withdrawal symptoms for both of them. And they need to be reunited or they're both going to die. But the ocean's like, bitch, your 100 years started over. I don't know what to tell you. And Colin's sisters are like, well, we actually really don't mind being sirens. What if we split up her remaining years and let her go free? And the ocean agrees with this and is like, yeah, you know what, fine. So now, instead of it being like, send me to this boarding school where I won't fuck up anyone else's life with a bunch of money, to pay for my tuition and let me just get an education and start over, her sisters decide we're just going to shove a bunch of cash in her pockets, not write a letter, because I get it. They're worried she's going to actively die here. Like, there's clock is ticking. But they drop her directly outside of Kinley's house. And they just write, "Your Colin, he's a Kinley," on her arms and fucking leave her there. And that's it. And so they have like the cheesiest fucking reunion where the sister-in-law and the brother are like, "Oh my God, Colin, it's you. We've been so worried." And it's like, have you? Like you knew her for like 3
barely
days.
know her.
Yeah. And Kinley's sick, and it's really weird because you just noped out of here, and all of a sudden he was dying, and none of us knew what was going on, and we're so stressed. Do you want to come see him? He's on death's door. He'd probably like to hear from you. And magically, oh, look at this. And Colin has no fucking clue about any of this. She doesn't even know who he is. But she starts talking to him. And then Kinley's like, "Oh my God, I magically feel so much better." And they're like, "Wow, this is beautiful." And she's like, "I didn't know who I was, but I knew he was the one for me," or some shit. And that's how it ends. That's the end of the book, is someone being dropped off at a door with some sketchy ass arm notes and some cash and being like, well, I literally have no idea who I am or what I like. But this boy feels important, so I'm gonna stick with him. What the fuck?
Your entire identity is a race.
Yes. This book started off so strong with this awesome world building, and we had a bunch of different characters who were really diverse and had a bunch of different hobbies, and that part is cool. Like, honestly, go read the first half of the book just for that, because I don't get into like the sisters a lot, because there's just a lot. It's a whole book. There's a lot going on. Go check out that first half if you want. It's pretty cool. And then just like when she meets a Kinley and she ghosts him and move, just assume that's the end. Because after that, like, especially this is a YA novel, like, I just hate the idea of 13-year-old me reading that and being like, wow, you're right. When you find the right guy, you can just develop your entire personality around him and it'll be fine. Yeah. I don't need my own hobbies. She didn't even know she liked fucking bananas. Okay. Like, this bitch has no memory of who she was or what she enjoys, but she knows she likes him.
Well, see, I'm caught up in the world building. Like you said, there's a lot of really fun pieces to it. And I want to know if there's an equivalent to the Earth. Like, because you have the ocean. Is there like a counterpart in the Earth at all?
That is interesting, because they focused a lot on how like the ocean provides for the world, right? Like water, and also like your salt water, though. Like, we also need evaporation in the weather. But yeah, and fish and all this stuff. And they do get kind of into how like people, it kind of comes back around. She's like, well, I feel bad about drowning humans, but also I gotta do what I gotta do to provide for all the other humans. And also they're hurting me by polluting me and overfishing and whaling. And that's fair. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. And they don't get into that either. Like, are there any other magical beings? Do they purposely keep them separated? I don't know.
Right. Or is the ocean also just the Earth too?
Right.
Like it's the main. I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a cool read for the first half, and then it just became this insta love. And again, I can't do it. And they're just cool with spending their lives together. And maybe this is me being old and cynical now, but like, this is how you know you're old, right? When you start agreeing with like King Triton and Ariel, like, but Daddy, I love him. You just met him. Damn right, King Triton. Like, that's where I'm at, where it's like, no, you don't know anything about this boy. Like, he might be an asshole in real life. Like, you've never spent more than a couple of days with him at a time. He might just do stuff that really pisses you off, or maybe he's gonna go jitterbug with some other girl.
I was going to say, maybe he's a liar. Like,
Right.
maybe he's fickle. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe he has terrible spending habits. Maybe he's a drug addict.
Maybe you haven't seen his temper yet and he's going to start, like, hitting you.
Yep.
Like, or
Yep.
maybe he's emotionally abusive.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe he doesn't want kids, and that's what
Right.
Colin's only ever wanted. Or
Maybe he's lovely, but you just don't want the same thing.
I don't know. There are just way too many issues there. So because of that, I did drop a 2-star on this book, which sucks because I really would have given the first half like probably a 4-star. I honestly was like, wow, is this gonna be like upper 4-star YA book for me? Like, this is awesome. And then I very quickly just hated it. And that's not to say like I do want to just I want to end with just a little note for this and Peter Pan and any books, because there are a lot of books that I absolutely love. Reading is so individualized. And just because I hate something doesn't mean it's bad. I shouldn't say hated it. Just because I dislike something doesn't mean it's bad. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to love it. And it doesn't mean that if you love it, you're wrong.
Right. It's all subjective.
It's all subjective.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Like, there's nothing wrong. Don't be personally offended. If this is your favorite book, that's cool, man. Let me know what I missed. But like, that's cool. Don't be mad at me for hating it. I won't be mad at you for liking it. Maybe just make sure your relationships are healthy, because I'm a little worried. But no, like, to everyone their own. But that is Erin's book corner for this week.
Yay.
I would like to do this again, but I think I need to do it with a book I actually like.
Sure.
So if there are any books... Oh, Risha put her finger on her nose. Okay, good. Because I was going to say, if there are any books that I can reasonably do this. And you did give me a children's book, which I do want to talk about.
Yes.
I'm thinking that'll also get into kind of like the myths. And Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm hoping to do it again, but maybe with a book that I actually like. I think that'd be good.
Cool.
If you haven't already followed us on Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon Music or wherever you listen, please go ahead and drop a follow. If you like this podcast, go ahead and rate us that 5 stars. If you don't like it, goodbye. I don't know why you're still listening. That's cool. Keep it to yourself. We're just trying to succeed out here. Okay, the world's hard. If you haven't already followed us on Vamps and Mers on Instagram, at Vamps and Mers on Instagram, go ahead, check us out. You can vote on our ending caption, our ending catchphrase, and let us know what you prefer. So with that,
Cover your necks and watch your tails, or
keep thirsty and stay wet.
Obscurantism and obfuscation.
Orally observed, gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Obviated objects of oblivion.
Obambulating about.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
In the Tapestry Radio Network.
Tapestryradio.org.
From our fancy to yours.